A very warm welcome to this week's edition of Energy Frontiers, proudly supported by the African Energy Chamber, the leading energy sector advocacy group on the continent. I am Justina Okechukwu, and these are some of the biggest energy news making the headlines at this time. Italian energy giant Eni has received the final regulatory approval to sell its entire Nigerian onshore assets of Agip Oil Company to indigenous publicly trading energy firm Oando. The deal, which includes power generation assets, marks a significant shift for Eni as it focuses on offshore operations in one of Africa's biggest oil exporters. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed the country's Climate Change Act into law. The bill will seek to align the country's climate policies, enable the orderly reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and aid the country's commitment to reach net zero by 2050. Still in South Africa, where energy trader Etana Energy has secured a 15-year deal to supply Johannesburg and London-listed miner Tharisa with renewables. The agreement will see Etana deliver up to 44% of the mine's electricity needs through wind and solar power from the Western and Northern Cape, scheduled to be operational in 2026. In Angola, the National Agency for Petroleum, Gas and Biofuels has signed 3 new production sharing contracts with Etu Energias and upstream player Acrep for oil blocks CON2, CON8 and KON19. This move is expected to boost the country's oil production and investments. In earnings news, Galp Energia has reported strong profits for the second quarter. The Portuguese energy company saw its net profit jump 16%, that beats the analysts' expectations. Despite continued volatility in the energy market, the company saw higher oil prices and lower production costs, offsetting lower output and stable refining margins. Egypt's Gulf of Suez Petroleum Company, or GOPCO, is set to invest $226 million to unlock over 100 million barrels of new oil reserves in the North African country. The company says it expects to drill 5 new wells in the North Safa and Al Wassil fields and increase daily output by 15,000 barrels next year. And that's the summary of your energy news headlines. When we return, we dig into Zambia's re-emerging copper industry. Stay with us. This is Energy Frontiers. Copper prices have plunged below the 9,000 a ton threshold for the first time since April this year, and that's a drop of about 20% from its May peak. The sustained decline, primarily driven by weakening economic indicators in China, has also posed major challenges for copper-dependent exporters like Zambia. However, President Hichilema is optimistic, looking to double his country's output to 1 million tons by 2027, backed by $7.5 billion in investments. To get a closer look at the state of Zambia's copper industry, I sat down with Peter Major, who is the Director for Mining at Modern Corporate Solutions, to hear his insights.
You know what? Zambia has fallen to a 13-year low in copper production. So they've missed a lot of this really incredible run in metal prices the last 13 years. Congo's taken good advantage of it. South Africa has really missed out for the last 13 years. It's like they're bedfellows here. And unfortunately, Zambia has been almost as poorly ruled as South Africa for the last 15 years. And that's what happens when you have misrule. The economy can't achieve what it should achieve. So we've had great world prices, and they're still very good. We say, oh, copper's down to 411. There's not a person on this planet who wouldn't have been overjoyed if you told them the last 10, 15 years they could ever get to $4 a pound for copper. So yes, it's down from a peak of 460, 470. You know, copper was over $10,000 a ton. Now it's barely 9,100. Those are still great prices. Where Zambia has really fallen down is they've let their production fall. They let their investment fall. You know, at this turn of this new millennia, the Congo and Zambia, they were the two darlings of Africa. They both received tens of billions of dollars in new investment. And the Congo's production went from 50,000 tons to 1.5 million tons. Zambia's production went from 200,000 tons up to 800,000, almost 850. But then their bad governments and policy caused them to fall from 850,000 tons a year down to less than 650. But now with the election of the new president, he's trying to do whatever it takes to get the economy back on track, to get the legislation and to make investors welcome in Zambia instead of running away. So even though the copper price is down from a high of 10,000 a ton to 9,000, if they can get production up another 200,000-300,000 tons, it will more than make up for that.
Great. Yes, like you said, Hichilema is really doing a lot to bring in big companies, pull investments that were lost over the past years. And I wanted to ask, are mining companies positioning themselves to cut production costs and maintain profitability amidst all of this?
Yeah, they really are. Mining companies have reacted very favorably to the election of the new president in Zambia. He immediately brought in a new mining minister and cleaned the table, said, gentlemen, please, can we talk? You know, First Quantum, why have you canceled this $1.5 billion, $2 billion expansion? Vedanta, why are we still fighting in court? You know, that you have not been paying taxes, that you owe creditors $250 million. Please, let's get in here and talk. Let's get out of the courts and let's talk. And that's what's happened. And Vedanta brought in a new CEO, Chris Griffiths, probably the most respected mining man in the world. Nobody's got a better track record than Chris Griffiths. And he's a man who gets things done. Great track record in Anglo American, good track record at Goldfields, and he wasn't there very long. It would have been better. It shows the new administration in Zambia, they want to do things right. They want to work with companies. And the companies have responded very favorably. Anglo American is going back into Zambia just about as fast as they can move. First Quantum immediately put in that CAPEX and almost doubled it. Vedanta, they've settled very quickly. So they're doing what needs to be done, but they've got to do a better job and do it faster. Their infrastructure is worse than South Africa's. It hasn't been added to in 50 years.
That's really a pullback when it comes to mining our resources in Africa. And like you mentioned, Chris has really done a good job in pulling these resources together, making sure that investments, like I said earlier, are pulled back. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned Vedanta. How strategic is their return to Zambia's copper mining industry? Looking at how they were shoved out of the scene due to policy issues and all of that and debt problems. But how strategic is their return this time around?
Because copper is in such demand and Zambia has lots of copper, if they don't resolve things with Vedanta, say Vedanta wants to leave Zambia, they would have a real easy time finding someone to buy their assets, I think, and get running. You know, Zambia is in a good position here. They wouldn't have any trouble finding another buyer for Vedanta's assets. And Vedanta wants those assets. Vedanta doesn't want to leave Zambia. And I think their actions have shown that, bringing in a new CEO, sitting down with the new president of Zambia, borrowing and finding the $250 million to pay creditors. And they admit they need $1 billion to get their operation where it was. They want to increase their production from below 200,000 tons a year to 300. So Vedanta currently is probably a 20% of Zambia's total copper production. And they want to get up to 25. And with Chris Griffiths, they can do it. So they're very important, but if things don't work out, there's other people. The world is looking for copper, and Zambia has it. So Zambia mustn't blow this opportunity.
We are done dreaming of an industrialized Africa. No more enduring long journeys in darkness. No more imagining life without constant power. We are done. We are done. Done tolerating 24 hours without power, load shedding, blackouts, and power cuts. Enough. Imagine a life where our abundant natural resources can't power a generation. We can't cope with that reality. 600 million Africans still lack access to power. We have the solution. It's time to turn imagination into action. African Energy Week 2024 is the platform to implement change, sign deals, and take decisive action. And implement. Join us. Invest in African energies. Energy growth through an enabling environment, and be part of the movement that brings hope to millions across the continent. It's not just about power. It's about empowering lives and giving African hope. Be there to witness the transformation. African Energy Week 2024, where imagination becomes reality. Secure your seat now. Don't miss out on African Energy Week 2024. Visit our website and buy your tickets today. Let's light up Africa and create a brighter future together.
Project. At the time you need to build that project. Sign, baby, sign.
Welcome back to the program. The International Energy Agency's latest report on global electricity demand underscores the need for massive investment in clean energy technologies and grid infrastructure. This is especially true for Africa, where electricity demand is climbing on the back of rapid population growth, urbanization, and other key factors. Nicholas Nede is an industry analyst at Energy Capital and Power, and he shared his industry insights with me on how Africa can bridge its electricity demand-supply gaps. Let's listen.
Electricity demand in Africa is going to increase, and they say that it's going to increase by 4% through to 2026. And if you look at the market, what are some of the factors that are driving this energy demand? We see more African countries wanting to boost energy access and ensure energy security. For why? For industrialization and economic growth. We have countries such as Egypt, such as Tunisia and Morocco that already have 100% energy access, but we see these countries wanting to maintain that stature. At the same time, we also have countries like Ghana, like Gabon, like South Africa and Kenya. They have ambitious targets to achieve 2030 universal target. So we see them investing more in power generation. Then on the other hand, we have countries like Nigeria, where 4 people out of 10 don't have access to electricity. And we have people in Malawi, where the rate is very low. We see governments in those countries wanting to boost energy access to their people. Again, the report also states that 2/3 of this growth, of this energy growth, will come from renewables, and the remainder will come from gas. So in terms of renewables, we see Africa is progressing very well in terms of deployment. This week alone, we have AG starting the construction of a 75 megawatt solar facility in South Africa. The South African government is also deploying its multi-billion just energy transition plan. using funding from the likes of the US and European governments. And we also have United Arab Emirates countries coming in with their companies such as Mazda and Armenia, deploying very large-scale renewable energy projects in Africa. Then in terms of gas, I see there's a lot of potential that Africa can use from gas. We have countries such as Ghana, which is drawing closer to its for access using gas. We also have Senegal and Mauritania yet to start the GTA in the coming months. We see a lot of potential coming from that project. And we have the Republic of Congo. We want to use the Baleine field to grow their energy access. And then in Mozambique, they started the Coral SUV. In the moment, they are only deploying to international markets. But we see projects with the Mozambique Energy by Total Energies and projects such as Timana Gas Power. Play a crucial role in fostering the country.
Right. You made very crucial, very strong points there about giving a robust outlook and looking at review of that report. Now, there is a supply problem. And Africa's electricity demand is surging and outpacing the supply. What is the global trend you're seeing out there?
So in terms of Africa, it's the inadequate infrastructure and the investment challenges that are causing this, that are resulting in supply outpacing demand. But if we look at it at a global scale, it's not in Africa only. It's happening everywhere. It's a global trend. We have countries in Latin America and we have countries in Asia. For instance, India has a massive population, resulting in massive energy demand. China itself, second world's biggest economy, it is a massive population and several economic activities which are resulting in energy demand increasing. That's why you see them sometimes they are resorting to coal to meet this demand. We have a lot of countries in Latin America where supply shortages are as similar as in Africa. So it's a global trend. It's not Africa only.
Right. Now, what strategies are workable for Africa to raise electricity supply for its growing population, and how do we bridge that infrastructure gap?
First of all, I think everything starts with the policy. Africa needs to enact the policies that are friendly to investors. If the policies are friendly, we see more private investors coming, not only from the international markets, but within Africa itself, there's a lot of investors within the private sector that can come, that can chip in, only if investor-friendly policies are adopted. There's also a role that multilateral development banks such as the AFDB can play. Mm-hmm. They are playing at the moment, but I see there is more potential for them to increase their contribution to the African energy market growth. And then international collaboration. International markets, they have the technologies, they have the funding. So if Africa can maximize collaboration with global partners, I see more potential. I see more growth in the energy sector.
You can catch the rest of Nicholas Nede's interviews as well as other niche interview charts on our website at frontierafricareports.com. Nominations for the African Energy Awards are officially open. The African Energy Week will host the African Energy Awards at this year's summit in Cape Town to celebrate trailblazers across the continent. You can nominate those who are high achievers in the African energy industry. To register your spot or find out more about the awards and the main knowledge events in November, visit the event website at www.aecweek.com. And that's the package of Energy Frontiers for you at this time. We appreciate you for making the time to watch the show as always. Remember to follow the weekly program on Frontier Africa Reports website, like all the video editions, send in your comments, and subscribe to our YouTube. Kindly follow us as well across all our social media handles as indicated. I am Justina Okechukwu, and it's bye for now.